ChatGPT, music, movies, and Hallmark. Yes, Hallmark. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by the MacVoices Slack, available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up today at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, our MacVoices Live panel wraps up a discussion of ChatGPT from a whole lot of different angles, including movies and music and more. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Jeff, I want to go back to something you said a minute ago, but before this fits in more with this part of the discussion. But I'm throwing an article in from Forbes where calm down. Forbes. Well, this was everywhere. That the artist Grimes told fans to deepfake her music, and she will partner with him and split 50% of the royalties with anything AI generated, just like she would have with any other collaborators.
So I haven't read this. My off-the-cuff interpretation is that Grimes is saying, I will let you generate using AI content that appears to be mine, but now I own it, and I'll share 50% of what I own with you.
Jeff, that's a great point. And, it's, again, as usual, you don't have all the subtle nuances of meaning with what these articles come for. But I did feel like this is someone that instead of, because was it Drake in The Weeknd had, there's something ripped off from them, and they were having a stroke over it and trying to sue to get it off the streaming services. And there was a big kerfuffle, I guess, a week or two ago about this. And here's Grimes kind of leaning into it and saying, okay, you want to deepfake my voice? Go ahead. And I'll take 50%. So instead of resisting and fighting it, she's kind of going with it. And at least in theory, maybe not having to do the work.
Yeah.
So
this sounds like a good way for her to get some publicity.
Well, that too, Jim. I agree.
It's not exactly Taylor Swift.
That too, but also I'm thinking, isn't this, can you imagine, some number of years hence that, any sort of creative property, will have the ability to be highly customized by AIs that can change scenery, voice, different parts of the story, so that I can imagine, I don't know, maybe a generation, maybe two generations from now, people look back at, our ideas of, watching a movie as being, oh, you mean I can't enter the script, I can't change it, I can't explore, different ideas within that. I think that that will look sort of as old and quaint as silent movies are to us today. So, I agree that she's doing this as a way to get, free publicity. But I also think it's a way that a younger artist is looking at technology and figuring out what does it mean and how to incorporate it, to make money in the future.
Mark, you're kind of describing an industry that's already much larger than the movie and television industry, video games.
I know, but there's all sorts of other media that can be augmented and replaced. Video games is not the only media in the world.
And Mark, your comments are
but it's you play. Everybody experiences video games, their own path, and whatnot. And yet movies and TVs aren't replaced. If anything, they're bigger than ever, but they're nowhere near as big as video games. So I'm not, and people still read books. So I'm not sure about this.
Okay, Jim, let's meet in 50 years and take a look back and see what happens. Because I'm not claiming this is absolutely new, but when I look at it, I mean, it seems to me there's a big barrier to entry in creating, video games, and for bringing into this other technology in, is this not what we are hearing about, Apple talking about augmented reality and all their authoring tools that they can bring down the cost, that they can make this much more prevalent, because, a lot of places can't afford, the content creation budget that a video game studio does.
Well, there's a couple of examples of industries where, already this has happened. One would be photography. And I think now there's maybe 10% of the professional photographers that there were 30 years ago. And I kind of have an immediate connection to that because one of my customers built an app for a vertical app for photographers to, run their businesses. And so, he's gone out of business because most of his photographer, customers have gone out of business because people just don't hire photographers at nearly the rate that they used to. Because, everybody's got a phone, even before that with digital cameras. So, that's an example where, basically people just do it themselves. Typesetters, another related, I remember early in my career, and I used to have typesetting done for ads and things like that. And we were once sitting down having a discussion with this woman, and I was telling her, you need to find a new career. This was, in the late 80s, and she thought she was going to retire as a typesetter. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. But she didn't want to hear it. So I don't know what happened to her, but I think she was in her 40s and that needed another 20 years. And I don't think she got a 20-year run out of typesetting.
Well, I think you're just, illustrating things that prove my point, that as a technology comes available that drives down the cost of creation of different types of media, it's going to become much more widespread and omnipresent.
Mark, your comments are especially interesting, and I'm sorry, I want to give accurate attribution to this. I think it was Tom Merritt's Daily Tech News Show, but I'm not sure. But just today, as we record this, at least this morning, unless something changed and I haven't seen it yet, the Motion Picture and TV Writers Guild went on strike. Yes. And apparently somewhere deep down in the list of disputed issues are attempts by the studios by the writers to prohibit the use of ChatGPT for script writing. And and that's as far as I can go because I don't have the details and I don't have a link for it. But I did hear it, and it now it's coming back to me in this conversation that, what are they doing? Are they trying to preserve the humanity of the creative process, or are they just fighting the future? I don't have an answer for that.
Don't know.
I think, that somebody at some point called these AIs. That's just extremely misleading. And, that's not what they are. I mean, it's an autocomplete statistical engine. We are nowhere near, in my opinion, where Writers Guild needs to worry about ChatGPT. A television show, you need the best writing, which, even with humans, is often not very good. But,
Jim,
if poor writing, it will kill a multi-million-dollar production. So, saving, $50,000 by using ChatGPT, that's not going to work. I mean, somebody may try it. They're going to lose their shirt.
Jim, have you seen some of what's on TV? Oh, hey, Mark, thanks. Tell us where we can find you. I didn't realize you had to go. Tell us where we can find you.
At Twitter, at MarkFuccio.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for being here.
Part 2 on. I look forward to hearing the rest of the discussion.
All right. Take care. Good night.
Okay, bye.
I've seen little bits of what you're talking about, Chuck, but only very little bits because I will not waste my time with that crap.
Well, see, and that's kind of my point is some of the, I'm not going to call any names for shows because sooner or later I'll step on somebody's favorite celebrity. But I turned on TV last night by mistake that went to one of the networks. And I watched for maybe 10 minutes because I was more stunned than anything that this could pass for entertainment at this point in time. It just is unbelievable.
You know, I have for decades, you know, marveled, and you know, that's something I've seen on TV, also commercials sometimes, and I think, you know, this had to go through all kinds of committees and approvals, and all down the line, all these people were like, "Yeah, this is great. You know, we're green lighting this." I'm like, what the, you know, what is wrong with you people? But on the other hand, there's a lot of brilliant stuff too. And I think more than ever. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff I'm like, wow, this writing is just incredible.
David, you found a New York Times article on what I guess I'm talking about. Did you have a chance to look at it and summarize it, or tell us what they're objecting to?
Well, they're objecting to the fact that it's, you know, it could take over what they do, but they also are objective to the fact that it's something that it could make it easier for them to write things, because it's, you know, artificial intelligence. But I know there's a fine line. I'm not a writer, so I can't really make the comment either way. Is this something that is good for this type of profession? But I think the writers have more of a problem of the fact that what they're being paid is horrible, and then their working conditions have become worse and worse. And I mean, there was comments about the Tonight Show and the way Jimmy Fallon was dealing with his writers, and I think it's been 15 years since the last time this group has gone on strike. So this could be something pretty ugly. But as far as the point of the AI, though, is, yeah, it's hard to say with writing. I mean, Jeff probably would have a better comment than I would. But
I'll tell you where I could see an LLM system being able to take over full script writing, and it just bear with me, because at first you're going to be like, no way can you write a movie that people watch using LLM. But Hallmark Channel. Hallmark is very open about the fact that they have it's a formula. And every movie's designed so that you can hop in at any point and know where you are. The movies are designed so that you can be working on your holiday dinner with the movie playing in the background, and it doesn't matter which one it is, you know where you are in the movie. You feed all of the scripts for all of these Hallmark movies into an LLM, and then just tell it, I want to have big
There's
city
been a Hallmark
girl
movie generator on the internet for years already.
Well, there you go. Now you can make those even better by using an LLM.
Let me tell you, you know, it's much more fun if you pay attention. And, you know, we actually do watch quite a few Hallmark movies, and I love them. It's like, you know, it's going to be a happy ending.
Sure.
And then
Jim is about to get thrown out of the chat for admitting that he watches Hallmark movies, folks.
The whole fun of it is figuring out everything that's going to happen in the first 5 minutes. And my wife is like, totally. She's like, I'll be like, you know, we'll get 10 minutes in. I'm like, okay, that's, you know, this is what, you know. And she's like, how do you know that? But, you know, I do that with regular shows too.
Easy.
Because, you know, writers think a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's a narrative form, and you know what kind of, so I do that with a lot of regular shows too, you know, because you know, like, okay, you know, you can tell, like, well, this person's can't be killed because of, you know, some this or that, and you know, this has got to resolve. And so a lot of times you can figure out, like, you know, 20 minutes in to an hour show, like, oh yeah, this is how this is going to work out.
Oh, sure. Many of our significant others love watching those movies, and I've gotten stuck sitting through one of them, and I know the whole storyline's going to go from start to finish. Oh, they're living happily there ever after. Oh, it's just so, yeah, okay, that's real world.
But part of what makes those
entertainment is not supposed to be the real world.
Yeah, that's true.
Point.
Yeah. The real world is horrible. I don't want to watch that for my downtime.
Now, while we bag on the Hallmark Channel and the movies, there's a reason why Hallmark Channel does so well, and the movies keep bringing in money, and why there are people out there who make a living cranking out like 12 scripts, movie scripts a year for Hallmark, and it's because people like the comfort that goes along with knowing that what's coming, and we live in a world that's so seriously messed up in so many ways. Yeah. And if watching a formulaic movie is going to help someone feel comfortable and better about their world, then you know what? Fire up the Hallmark Channel and just start watching.
I really actually go ahead.
Well, we all do it. I mean, that's why Netflix is so popular, and there was so much discussion over Apple TV Plus, because Apple TV Plus was not going to have any reruns. They were not going to have any back catalog for you to go back as comfort viewing. They were only going to be producing new shows. So whether it's Hallmark, and believe me, I am, if anything, I feel like Hallmark is offensive, but yes. We all engage in that behavior. It just, is it World War II movies, or is it, cop shows, or God help us,
is it Star Trek?
Is it Star Trek?
How many times have you seen every single original series episode of Star Trek?
I am not going to confess to that.
Do you really think the Hallmark channel is offensive?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, because
what's offensive about it?
Because it's not my thing. It insults my intelligence. Because as Jeff said, I mean, if I've read some articles on this, they almost have it down to like the minute that okay, this little plot twist happens, and then 10 minutes later, this little plot twist happens. They really aren't twists. They just are. They're kind of expected. Uh-huh. But
that's on purpose. So,
of course,
like I said, you don't have to pay attention, and you still know where you are in the movie.
Yeah, but it just, my God, NCIS, NCIS, Miami, NCIS, Iowa City. I mean, it's the same thing over and over.
Hey, come on, NCIS Dubuque. That one's got it going on.
Yeah, no offense to the people in Iowa or Dubuque, but it's just the same thing over and over. And at some point, you start to say, okay, I understand why it's a good thing that TV shows get canceled, because after a while, there's just nothing else to do or say. So, hey, Jeff,
I actually like Hallmark movies. If I'm in a certain mood, it's like, this is great. That's what I want. I mean, I also watch edgier stuff, much edgier stuff too. But sometimes, and I've probably seen 75 Hallmark movies over the past 6 years. And, one thing you'll notice is, they're obviously very successful because they're putting a lot more money into them than they did 5-6 years ago.
Oh, yeah, they're big money.
You can tell the production quality has gone way up. And, I'll even say I think the writing is better. And, sometimes you can't figure out how it's going to turn out until a half hour into it rather than only 10 minutes.
It's like drugs.
And a lot of them are like little travel logs, like they're just sort of set pieces. It's the same plot, but now we're going to do it in Glacier Park, or now we're going to do it in a tropical island. And, it's just sort of like, you could say, well, a travel log, there's no plot to that. The writing is not very good, right? But yet sometimes you like watching a travel log, Well, a lot of, I find a lot of the Hallmark movies are like that. It's like, oh, this is just really pretty, and some stuff's going on that sort of loosely holds my attention. But
it's like drugs, Jim. If better quality drugs get you more customers.
Well, like I just said, they're obviously pulling in, more and more.
It's big business.
It is big business. Hey, Jeff, we're pretty much out of time, but there's one thing I wanted to go back to. You had said something about ChatGPT generating these, 2 and 3 page long articles, and I'm putting in a chat room something I was saving from last week, that you can use GPI to summarize obnoxiously long PDFs. So I have this vision of doing ChatGPT platforms, one spitting out long form, and then another one taking that and condensing it back down, and then feeding it back over and having it break it out into long form, then back down.
And how long does it take before it completely breaks down into total gibberish?
Yes, or breaks.
Like take something in English, translate it to Russian, and then back to English, and keep going baback and forth.
Yeah.
And my fear is that's the whole internet is going to, that's going to happen to the entire internet. And they're going to start taking, not only what you're saying, well, maybe it is what you're saying. They're going to take, the output of these chat LLMs is going to be the input to next year's LLMs. Right? They're going to train them on the output.
I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that I'm really alarmed about.
Yeah. Eric really liked that.
What?
Eric really liked that. Yeah. For some reason, that really tickled him.
It's a total disaster.
So, Chuck, I did an experiment with a piece that I wrote a few weeks ago, where I wrote the whole thing, and it was done, and I gave ChatGPT the prompts to write my piece to see what it would do. And it generated a piece that seemed plausible. There were errors in it. And it was like styrofoam. I mean, it was shocking just how bland it was. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm still better than a computer. I'm still better than a large language model. But anyhow, it was really interesting. And if you do any writing, it's just an interesting little experiment to have ChatGPT write something that you already wrote and see how it compares.
Yeah. And listen, I think at this point, you should be out there experimenting with ChatGPT to learn about it and see, how it might affect you. I know people that swear by it. I know people that swear at it. But to keep yourself in the dark is just a mistake.
I agree. And my experience right now, it's telling me that if you're blindly trusting ChatGPT for whatever it is, you're making a mistake, because like Jim and I have both pointed out on many occasions, Jim even tonight already, and so I'm reiterating what he said. These are not intelligent systems. These are systems that figure out the next word based on statistic probability.
It's scary.
That's it.
It is scary, but it's interesting too.
It is. I mean, it's fascinating to see what an LLM will write versus what I write.
Well, and it can't write anything better than its training data.
True. This is what would make a Hallmark LLM so good, because they have thousands of scripts to work from. Feed all those in.
I don't think it would be good.
I don't think you could tell the difference, but we'll leave it. We'll leave it there. I'm going to give Eric. I want to give Eric the last word from our chat, where he says regarding some of our earlier TV comments, it's like watching a Western, a known formula, and that's a perfect example. Eric, you're absolutely right. There are very few surprises in very few Westerns.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're all watchable. Well, okay, well, not all of them. There are a few really good watchable ones.
Yeah, but they're also something that, if that's your thing, to put them on in the background, like Jim does,
I do not put them on in the background. Jim, I watch them.
Jim,
I'm sorry, I'm doubling down on this.
There was a quote here earlier that you said you had to be in the right mood. I don't want to know what that mood is.
It's a mood that I want to be, happy. Like maybe I'm stressed about something, and those movies, they make me smile. So I'm in the mood where I want to smile. That's like some people want to drink wine. I don't drink wine, or anything else.
It's like I don't know you, Jim.
You don't know me.
I'm terrified.
What, do you think I'm
Jim,
a robot?
if you
or
want to watch
something?
Hallmark movies all day long, I fully support you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you, Jim.
And I'm not saying that in a jerk way. Seriously, if Hallmark movies make you happy, watch Hallmark movies.
You know, I always also like watching very dark British murder mysteries. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
huh?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, that teaches you never go into the woods in the UK because you will be killed.
Yeah.
Never travel to a small village in England alone because you will be killed.
Unless it's a Hallmark movie, and then you'll meet the love of your life.
That's right.
Yes, but you're not going to go into the woods
But you're not going to go into the woods.
alone.
Well, they'll go in the woods to get a Christmas tree.
Right, but you're not alone when you do that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but at least some quirky character will solve my murder. And
That's true.
And then the quirky character falls in love and meets the love of their life.
Wow.
Let's
Yeah.
get
No.
out of here. Let's get out of here. It's
no,
too-
no, they not on a not on Vera or Shetland or Hinterland or. Now, there's some dark stuff on British TV.
Jim, have you ever watched
Going down a long
Blackpool?
road.
Have watched what?
Blackpool.
Maybe.
It has David Tennant in it.
Okay.
And
It's set in London?
no, it's set in Blackpool.
Oh.
And I know the name
You know-
throws
Do you
people all
know,
the
do you
time.
know what it's on? I've heard of it. You know what is it? What's it on? Do you know?
It's been so long since I've seen it. I'm not sure. I'm assuming Amazon Prime. And it's wonderfully fun. And I mean, it's like a straight up serious mystery, murder and everything. And, but there are points where the entire show just stops and they all sing to some pop song, and the pop song is playing and they're just singing along with it. And I mean, it fits in with whatever is happening in the storyline at that moment. And then,
You know what, Jeff?
and then they go back to everything else they're doing. It's seriously, it's a great mystery, and it is just a straight up fun series.
It looks like it might be on Netflix.
I'm going to get us out of here so we can
Yeah,
take
let's
this
go.
after dark. So yeah, so folks, thank you for joining this. This was on the rails, off the rails, on the rails, off the rails, but it's always a lot of fun. So let's go around the room and find out where you can find these folks. I'm going to flip it around this time and give Eric Bolden first up. Just because he's wiping his eyes because he can't believe what he's just been part of. Eric, thank you. Thank you for being here, you and your weeping peach. Where can folks find you?
The Weeping Peach from the latest Hallmark movie before the started. Now I have to go watch All Creatures Great and Small. I need a cheer up movie. I can be found at EA Bolden at techhub.social on Mastodon.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks so much. My feel-good movie is Apocalypse Now. What does that tell you?
That's a
Yeah.
good movie.
That's a really good movie.
Yeah, it is.
And when you tell people
Except for
it's
maybe
not a
the last
war
10
movie,
minutes.
their brains just kind of break because they can't wrap their heads around a movie doesn't have to be a war movie just because it's taking place during a war.
I love
That's
that
one of my
movie,
favorite
Chuck.
movies of all time.
So now you really don't know me.
Yeah. On that philosophical note, Mr. Gamet, where can folks find you?
Well, I think in a few minutes you can find me in front of my television watching Blackpool on Netflix.
It's not on Netflix.
Oh, it's gone from Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably like on BritBox or something now. So,
No, I wish, because I get BritBox.
all right. Well, then I guess you won't
It's on
find
the
me in front of
Roku
my
channel.
TV watching Blackpool again. So instead, how about on Mastodon and Instagram is Jay Gamet? And then here on awesome TV shows and movies with Jim Ray and special guest Chuck Joyner. I don't know why you keep letting me back on, but thank you. Okay, so then on Thursdays, I am your interim host on The Big Show on the British Tech Network. And then again on The Mac Show on Fridays. And then Dave keeps letting me on In Touch with iOS on Thursday evenings. Although, I mean, after tonight, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. And then Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine together.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Jim Ray, I assume we can find you in a winter wonderland on the Hallmark channel, but other than that, where can folks connect with you?
So my words of wisdom is Charlie, don't surf.
I like it. I like
Words to live by.
words to live by. Yeah, find me. You can find me. Don't look on Twitter, even though you might find me there. But you can find me on Mastodon at proviewjim@techhub.social. And also my website is proview.com.
Thank you, Jim. Brian, thanks so much for being here. Next time, help me round up the crew just a little bit more aggressively because I've lost control completely tonight. Where can folks find you?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Couple places, Mastodon, Brian8944 at mastodon.social. And then mastodon.cloud, talking about all the different instances, mastodon.cloud. And then also Twitter at Brian8944.
Great. Thanks so much. Last but absolutely not least, David Ginsburg, still sporting that MacStock shirt. David, good to have you. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. YouTube channel is In Touch with iOS, or it should be youtube.com/In Touch with iOS. You can find me here on Tuesdays on the Mac Show, on Fridays on the British Tech Network, as well as on Mastodon. I'm at DaveG65 on mastodon.cloud, and Twitter, DaveG65 as well. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, David. And I also want to make sure that folks know that on July 22nd and 23rd, they can find David, they can find Jeff, they can find me at MacStock Conference and Expo. Check out MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. You could join us too. We would love to have you. So get signed up and get there. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yep.
Brian, are you coming? Yep, Brian's coming.
I'll be there. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Eric? Any
Yep.
chance Eric's still. Oh man,
Yeah, it's
great.
close. I just head down.
Cool.
He's only like a couple hour drive.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, are you coming?
I don't think so.
They're filming a Hallmark movie.
No, they're not.
Chuck, your delivery. That's what made me laugh. It was the delivery.
Just thought
Oh my
I'd mention it.
Oh.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. We do this every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We have way too much fun at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. You should be here too. Definitely want to thank the chat room for throwing in some great comments tonight. And there were some interesting side conversations going on as well. We will see you next time. As always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.